Hello and a warm welcome, as always, to the Vanarama National League highlight show. Plenty to get through in the next half an hour, but before kick-off in all of the weekend's games in the National League, tributes were paid to Her late Majesty the Queen, with a period of silence around the grounds. We start our first roundup at the top of the table with Richard Henwood.
Chesterfield travelled to Huish Park keen to protect an unbeaten record and a one-point lead at the top of the table. But after just 3 minutes, they trailed to Jimmy Touré's goal for Yeovil. The Spireites, though, had overcome a setback in midweek, winning 3-2 at Southend after being behind and down to 10 men. And once again, they came up with a good response. Still only 8 minutes on the clock when skipper Jamie Grimes made it 1-1. That's the way it stayed until 10 minutes from time, when Yeovil's Josh Staunton seemed to have scored the goal which put the first big dent in Chesterfield's season. But again they reacted, and with 3 minutes left, they clung on to their unbeaten record thanks to a vital equaliser from substitute Jesserin Uchegbalam. It finished Yeovil 2, Chesterfield 2. There's rarely a lack of entertainment when Wrexham are playing. Before the trip to Southend, they'd scored 20 times in their previous 5 games, so a goalless draw seemed the least likely outcome at Roots Hall. But Ollie Palmer's first-half shot, saved by Colin Andengan-D, summed up a frustrating afternoon. And in front of their biggest crowd of the season so far, 6,266, Southend briefly thought they'd won the match when Jake Hyde turned the ball into the net. The players celebrated, but after consulting his assistant, the referee ruled it out for offside, much to Wrexham's relief. An early moment to forget for Notts County goalkeeper Sam Slocum at Dorking. His poor pass was intercepted by James McShane, and then he found himself stranded outside his penalty area when McShane saw the chance to open the scoring. It was enough to give Dorking a half-time lead, although they were also grateful to goalkeeper Dan Lincoln for this save from Kedwin Scott. But just 5 minutes into the second half, Scott came up with a run and shot which the goalkeeper couldn't keep out, and it's now 4 goals in 5 games for Scott. For a while, County looked like the side more likely to go on and win the match, but they were frustrated by Lincoln, a first-class cricketer as well as a footballer. And that save from Adam Chickson's shot was given added significance by what followed. In the 90th minute, McShane's shot looped onto the post, but he kept going and was rewarded with his second goal of the game. And 5 minutes into stoppage time, the hat-trick was complete, and County's unbeaten start to the season was over. McShane's 8th goal in his last 9 appearances, and it's back-to-back wins now for Dorking. Solihull have yet to lose a home league game in 2022, but that was a stat that quickly looked under threat against Barnet. Just 3 minutes into the game when Ryan de Havilland scored for the 3rd time this season. That unbeaten Solihull home run stretches back 14 matches, and they soon began to show why. Joe Savara's shot was tipped onto the post by Barnet keeper Laurie Walker. And then an even better chance of an equaliser as they were given a penalty for a foul on Josh Kelly. Andrew Dallas took the spot kick, scored his 25th goal in his last 31 National League appearances, and the sides were level. And that's the way it stayed, thanks to an eventful second half for Solihull keeper Louis Molden. He'd already made one excellent save when he conceded a penalty. Dale Gorman had the chance to win it for Barnet, but Molden dived to his right, and Solihull clung on to an important point.
Well, Adam Virgo is pitchside with me here at Aldershot to pick through some of that. Let's start with the leaders, Chesterfield, who are finding ways to stay unbeaten, but Yeovil are also finding ways to not win games they probably should.
Yeah, I mean, frustration for Chris again. I mean, they've had some really good home performances. Wrexham springs to mind, and Chesterfield today. It's going to be a frustration. They have to start seeing games out because the longer the season goes on and they keep doing this, then there'll be an element of frustration, and probably league position won't be as strong as what it should be.
Yeah. When you've led twice on your own patch, albeit obviously Chesterfield are a
Altrincham game I can think of as well, where they conceded
Yeah.
sloppy goals. So that's certainly an area that he's certainly looking at. Listen, it's a new squad of players. He's getting back into the routine of management at the National League. But fair play to Chesterfield. They seem a different animal this season under Paul Cook. And without Shamanga for the majority of these games, great to see Clark back playing again. They're finding ways of winning, and that's sometimes a really, really good trait, and finding ways of drawing to maybe go and win leagues.
Next best thing indeed, because whilst they didn't slip up, Notts County did for the first time. They were beaten by a Dorking side in James McShane, a striker who got his dander up.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great start, hasn't he, in terms of the way that Dorking have adapted to this league. It'd be interesting for Notts County playing. I was really interested to see how they would play. And Slocum's had a really, really poor afternoon. That it's a dry, artificial surface there at Dorking, and Chesterfield found out as well with goalkeeping when Collivan got sent off coming out of goal. It's a different animal there, and I think this could be certainly results this season. When teams go to Dorking, they could be one of these sides that can make a few upsets against the bigger teams, but they've had a wonderful start to it. They are the entertainers, of course, and they're scoring an abundance of goals. Yeah,
and with Wrexham and Solihull drawing, it's turned out to be quite a good weekend at the top for Paul Cook and Chesterfield, really.
Yeah,
no ground lost.
Yeah, I mean, just pick up points on the road and get good home wins, then you're going to be consistent to be near the top of the league. But the top four at the moment, for probably the first time, we try and pick teams, don't we? And it never quite happened like that, but it just seems to settle for that could be going for this title. Could be early days. Now, on midweek, obviously Oldham, you'll, I'm sure, know, announced they'd be parting company with club legend and manager John Sheridan. Although, given his status at the club, they decided he'd get one last outing against Eastleigh before he set sail. Remember, this is his 6th spell as player and manager at the Latics. Michael McCann has the full story of the day.
Oldham and Eastleigh met for the first time ever, with both sides taking just a point from their last 3 games. But the Latics with the motivation of 3 here as a leaving present for John Sheridan. And they led in just the 3rd minute, Luke Burgess slotting home his first goal for the club. Oldham haven't kept a clean sheet since the opening day though, so unsurprisingly just before the half-hour mark, Eastleigh equalised. Danny Whitehall proving that persistence pays off, his first away goal this season. Eastleigh had only scored more than once on one occasion this campaign, but before half-time they and Whitehall had a second through his volley. Oldham were desperate to send Sheridan off in style though, and levelled things at 2-2 thanks to Mike Fondop's first goal this season. That set up a fairy tale finish for Sheridan, and just before stoppage time the comeback was complete. A first senior goal from teenager Charlie Wellens, giving Sheridan's Oldham reign a happy ending. Gateshead versus Boreham Wood brought the league's 2 youngest managers together, and of the pair it was Mike Williamson celebrating first, Lirat Kansani's volley his maiden senior goal. Luke Garrard's Boreham Wood had won all 4 away league games so far, the division's best record, and 5 minutes after the break they showed why, Josh Rees equalising with his first goal this season. Garrard turns 37 next Thursday and will arrive there with his side still unbeaten away this campaign. Gateshead almost won it thanks to substitute Adi Yusuf. Bromley lost 2-1 at 10-man York on Tuesday, but are unbeaten at Hayes Lane this season, and chasing a 4th straight home league win, they made an ideal start thanks to defender Omar Shawumni. Only Dorking had conceded more league goals this season than Maidstone coming into this weekend, and the Stones were only falling further in that regard just before half-time, and a poacher's finish from Adam Marriott made it 2-0. Marriott scored 2-2 in the recent comeback win here against Eastleigh, and the forward would have another pair when making it 2 goals in 3 minutes either side of half-time, seeing a 4th straight home win for Bromley and a 6th league win in 7 against Maidstone.
We'll come back to Bromley and indeed Boreham Wood, but Oldham, it's a bit strange, I find, the whole thing, the whole decision to kind of part company, but not for a few days with John Sheridan. What do you think? It was odd. It's very rare to see that a manager know that he's going to leave. Yeah. But listen, the chairman just probably feels he probably earns that little bit of respect for what he's done for the club as a manager and as a player. So they probably feel that that's probably the right send-off for him and the players. Well, it's worked because they've ended up picking up a win. Well, yes, and even that, you'd kind of think if you were John Sheridan today, you'd be thinking, well, Where's that been for the last few weeks?
It's been frustrating. It's been a real inconsistent start from them, especially in the last couple of results before this Eastleigh game. I mean, Hope's started fairly well. We know the quality of Ben Tollett in that final third, but they just haven't quite clicked in both areas in terms of in the final third and also defensively of keeping clean sheets. But listen, it's football, they will move on, but it's a big, big job for whoever has to come in.
Yeah, it's a happy ending of sorts. And yes, the search continues, as it does for Scunthorpe, who we'll see later in the show, for a new manager, the two teams that came down from League Two. Now, Boreham Wood are a tough nut to crack again, it seems. And Bromley, that's an important win for them. Yeah, I mean, both sides. In terms of Boreham Wood, you're looking at Luke's job last season, and again, a manager that always has to regroup and try and bring in players because they lose their best players. You know, you saw Shamanga a couple of years ago, Smith's left, Mendy's left, and you've got to try and build that squad again. But he's a good manager. We know he's a good manager, and there's a good stability at that club with the long-term contract that he signed. So no surprise that they've started the season well. And Bromley, again, it's just an important win for them today in terms of the 3 points and just trying to build a bit of momentum. Next stop right here, where Aldershot were looking for points, really. They played OK by common consent in their first 8 games, but lost 6 of them. Whereas the visitors, Halifax, had started to pick up some points, if not their greatest form, 7 points from the last 9 available. Watching this one were Kevin Davis and Adam Somerton.
Davis sent it in there, and the header's in. So well taken that, wasn't it, by Cordner?
Yeah, it's a good ball in. As soon as you see him get free there, 7 yards out, free header. And it's a bullet header from Tyler Cordner.
Capello. Minahan. Played in early by Spence towards Diasaroué! What a good header! Used all of his height there, didn't he? But placed it brilliantly.
This is all about strength, really. Got no right to score from there. Phillips is looking for the foul, and he just lets the ball do the work. It hits his head, and he guides it into that bottom corner, gets his team the equaliser.
Harfield with the cross, it's a great ball! And they're in front!
Vincent gets the ball out here, Tom Whelan with the ball. It's a lovely cross in. And again, he's just using the power on the ball. We'll see here. Harfield takes a touch, whips it into a really good area. All Cordner has to do is guide that one. A cross goal, goalkeeper no chance.
What a cross that is, Kevin, from Harfield.
Oh, it's on the money, isn't it?
Davis. A great ball. They're in behind here. That's taken so well. Ryan Glover with a lovely finish, but the pass to pick him out in the first place was sublime. Fantastic Aldershot goal. 3-1 they lead now.
Only one thing on his mind, and that's scoring. He takes it really well.
Amaluzor is set up nicely. Oh, that's the pick of the bunch. Brilliant goal from Justin Amaluzor.
He just picks it up here, doesn't it? Why not? It just falls nicely for him, doesn't it? Invitingly for him. Gets the touch there, and he thinks, you know what, I'll hit this, and it's a lovely dipping shot.
Davis. Oh, it's a fantastic run now. Is that a penalty? It is.
Easy decision for the referee.
So Effiong to make it 5, which he does with ease. Very good penalty.
See the bounce there, just puts it down the middle, doesn't he? A nice little dink. Cherry on top for all the shots.
Mark, congratulations. Big 3 points there. What pleased you the most about that?
I think our discipline out of possession. We had to work really hard. You see a couple of players cramping up. And the reaction, we obviously lost at Notts County and put on a good show, didn't quite get the points. And I think it's the mentality of the group, because the shirt's heavy here at the moment because of the home form hasn't been great for some years now. This is a brand new group. We're learning about ourselves more each and every day, every game. And we need some feel-good moments, and we got them today. And it's a funny old game, as they say, because we've actually played a lot better and not got the points and the goals. And we were chasing that feel-good moment in the game, and we certainly got that with the goals.
I should say they did, Adam. They were as decisive as Halifax were disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, that's as good an Aldershot performance I've seen in a long, long time. And I think Mark was talking about that mentality last season that they'd sometimes fold quite quickly. I had a really good chat with him pre-match just before, and it didn't seem any fearing in terms of the message he's trying to get to these players. He needs his experienced players, that your McCoyds and your Partingtons and players like that. That's when you try and look at those players. But I thought they thoroughly deserved the 3. I thought they were excellent today.
Yeah, good headers in the first half, but they come from good crosses.
Yeah, I mean, brilliant crosses. I mean, set plays in the National League are spoken about every single week. It's probably the one area that you have to try and work on defensively and offensively. But this was probably only really Halifax's best moment of their game. Diasuru, great ball in there from Spence, and didn't give him enough support, Diasuru. I felt really sorry for him today, but I mean, Harfield here, this is a goal ball. I mean, we were right behind it. The minute that left his left foot, that was an automatic goal. As a defender, there's absolutely nothing you can do about that.
But these gaps in the second half are alarming.
It is alarming. It was a real alarming second half performance from FC Halifax. They just lost momentum. They just lacked penetration. They just lacked energy. That kind of performance gets your manager the sack. And Deborah, experienced player, great player last season for them. I mean, that just really summed up their day, really. And as Bayo said at the end of the game, full credit to F. Young to go in there and take the penalty. He's had a few chances, missed a few chances. He's had a lot of chances this season. Probably should have more goals on the tally. But hopefully that performance and 3 points can take Mark's team a little bit further up the league.
Yeah, home fans very happy with what they saw here at the EBB. On we go with our last round-up. Now, Altrincham are the only side still to taste a league victory in the division, although they don't start the weekend foot of the table. That's Scunthorpe. The Iron, of course, looking for a new manager. Here's Richard Newman with details of their game at home to York.
Managerless Scunthorpe went into their home game with surprise starters York cut adrift at the bottom, and it didn't get off to a great start in the first half. Rob Apter put in a clumsy challenge on Mitch Hancock's. The referee pointed straight to the spot, and then old John Lewis sent Marcus Dewhurst the wrong way for his 4th goal of the season. Scunthorpe were much better in the second half though, and they thought they'd found an equaliser on the hour mark, only for Joe Nuttall's effort to be ruled out, the ball ricocheting off his arm. That was a lifeline for York, and they almost took advantage, only to have their own goal ruled out. Ryan Fallowfield was judged to be offside. Scunthorpe pushed for a leveller, and Apter made amends for his first half error late on. Successive draws for Scunthorpe represent small progress, while York are now unbeaten in 5. Wealdstone are another club who've turned their form around since last season. 6 games unbeaten have put them in the playoff spots. They hosted a Torquay side struggling for form and goals, not that they showed it early on. Ali Omar, Pizzini Division's lowest scorers ahead after just 2 minutes. But Wealdstone really piled on the pressure in the second half, and top scorer Reece Brown levelled the match midway through the second half for his 5th goal of the season. The hosts weren't content with a point. They wasted several chances to win it. Brown saw an effort brilliantly cleared off the line. And with the final touch of the game, Tarin Adarakia couldn't convert his header. 1-1 is how it finished. Dagenham and Redbridge against Altrincham pitted 2 teams against each other in woeful form, but gave both an opportunity to kickstart their season. The hosts saw their chance and took the lead through Manny Onariasi. 8 minutes later, they'd doubled their advantage. Dagenham put together a well-worked move, and Mauro Valletta supplied the finish. They always look better off the post. Altringham's afternoon got worse in the second half when Ross Barrows struggled to deal with Miles Weston's cross. And shortly after, Josh Walker had his first goal of the season, another fine team move. But the best goal of the game was a consolation. Josh Lundstrom with the strike for the visitors. A confidence-boosting victory for Dagenham. Altrincham remain winless. With no wins and 1 goal in 5 matches, Maidenhead could maybe have done without facing a visit from an informed side like Woking, who almost went ahead in the first half through James Daly. Patrick Armand's yet to score since joining Woking in the summer. He could barely have been given a better chance to open his account in the second half. Maidenhead took full advantage, Emil Aqua with a goal which was enough to end a 5-game stretch without a win and ended Woking's 3-match unbeaten run.
An important win for Maidenhead, their first in 6. But on Scunthorpe, we talked about Oldham looking for a manager. Scunthorpe also, and whilst it's a point against York today, not great.
No, you know, you're talking about really worrying times now at the moment. I cannot see. I mean, we saw them first game of the season and they played pretty well for the majority, but there was moments towards the end of the game where Yeovil could have possibly picked up a point. But since then, wow, I mean, they're on a real downward slide. And we saw with Southend last season, in terms of the way that they were going under Phil Brown, it feels very, very similar. If this appointment doesn't come in to get it right, then they could have another relegation.
Conversely, Wealdstone, the part-timers, who we keep waiting to kind of slip up and fall back into the pack, they're not doing, and actually they should have probably won against Torquay today, having gone behind the number of chances they didn't take towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive, massive fan of Wealdstone, the way that they play. I mean, they have a real good identity under Stewart, and we've said that time and time again against their sides, but blimey, how many chances did you need to pick up? I mean, there's a brilliant clearance off the line there, but they've settled in really well. I worry about part-time sides in the National League now, up against the firepower. If you look at your Wrexhams in Notts counties, but Wealdstone, in terms of their recruitment, their identity, I think they'll be absolutely fine this season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just a word on Dagenham. That's a big win as well for Daryl McMahon and his players. I know Daryl's been off with family issues, but needed that.
Of course they do, yeah. I mean, they've had some really, really poor performances in the last few weeks. And again, he's not one of those managers that signs a lot of players over the summer. He tries to pick out 2 or 3 players that come in. But again, momentum is absolutely everything. We'll talk about 3 points today for Aldershot. It's going to be the same for Dagenham. OK, let's have a little look at the Vanarama National League table. Of course, it's still relatively early days, although there's an ominous look to the group at the top. But if we start at the bottom, it's Altrincham, Scunthorpe. Altry still looking for that first win. Gateshead and Halifax who make up the bottom 4. Halifax dropping in with the defeat here and Aldershot climbing out. And it's Chesterfield who still lead the way by a point from Wrexham, and then 3 behind the leaders are Solihull, Notts County and Boreham Wood. Wealdstone, as just discussed, and Bromley make up the top 7 at the moment. And we have, of course, more live National League football for you. We are down in Berkshire to see Alan Devonshire's Maidenhead next Saturday, an earlier start than normal. We're on at 2:30. Remember, this is in the international break, but the National League continues. Gateshead, the visitors, at 2:30 on 2 for that. OK, we are out of time for this one. Thank you very much to Mr. Virgo. We'll usher you back into the warmth of the commentary box, I'm sure. Thanks for your company, as always, and we'll see you next time for more National League highlights. Bye for now.